Welcome back to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Happy Friday. And it is. It is actually a happy day. By the way, you can follow me at Sara Gonzales TX. Stephen, you always put that up, and I never tell people. Follow me at Sara Gonzales TX. Okay? Smash the like button. Do all the things. Comment. Make sure you're subscribed to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Also, make sure you go over and subscribe to at Sara Gonzales TX on YouTube. It's our new YouTube channel. Have I finished pimping myself enough already? No, I haven't. AmericanBeautyBySarah.com. You can go there as well, and you can get you some makeup. I'm wearing Freedom Fighter on my lips right now. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, the Clintons got their time in the hot seat. They got their time in the hot seat. Bill Clinton has been dragged over to testify in front of Congress about what he knew about Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, which, if you believe him, you're going to be shocked to hear Bill Clinton has no idea about anything. Now, I've seen his status, his condition lately, and I would say maybe that is true. It's like if you were to wheel Joe Biden into some testimony and you're like, do you recall this? Joe Biden would be like, nope. And I would have no idea of knowing if he were telling the truth because I actually believe he probably doesn't remember. So Bill Clinton says he has no idea. He says, first, I had no idea of the crimes Epstein was committing. No matter how many photos you show me, I have two things that at the end of the day matter more than your interpretation of those 20-year-old photos. Hold on. By the way, he wants to remind you they're 20 years old. So it shouldn't matter that these are young women that he's gallivanting around with because it was 20 years ago. At what does she say? Hillary Clinton. What difference does it make? What difference does it make? It's only 20 years old. Why do you care anymore? It's 20 years ago. He says, I know what I saw and more importantly, what I didn't see. I know what I did and more importantly, what I didn't do. I saw nothing and I did nothing wrong. Okay. Well, strong statement. Very, very clear. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't see anything done wrong. No wrongdoing was committed by me or in front of me. As a married man, I guess. So, seeing as Bill Clinton brought up photos, let's see them. Oh, nothing to see here. Bill Clinton just twinsying with Jeffrey Epstein. And then you have partying. Yep. Oh, they're twinning again. Yep. That is interesting, but he doesn't know anything about anything, okay? There's a redacted face, which means a young woman that he's got his arm. That's a thing. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't know a thing. Now, I will just say, hold on, Stephen, go back to that other one. I don't recall Hillary Clinton ever looking like that. Doesn't look to me like that's Hillary. So no wrongdoing, none whatsoever. A redacted face, which we knew from the DOJ that the redacted faces were only for the minors, the underage girls. Bill Clinton is rather cozy with an underage girl. No wrongdoing. Nothing to see here. Now go ahead. Keep going, Stephen. Yep. Then Bill Clinton going for a casual swim, a nighttime swim with Ghislaine Maxwell and another chick with a redacted face, which again would indicate that it was a minor. So just going for who among us doesn't go for casual nighttime swims with a prolific sex trafficker and a minor? Duh. That's what I'm doing later tonight, actually. I'm going home and I'm going to have a casual swim with a minor and a known, human peddler, young woman peddler. That's weird. Oh, and by the way, Bill Clinton and Michael Jackson, birds of a feather flock together. Alleged child predator Michael Jackson. That's like so crazy that he had all of these instances that we see pictures, like we know his time with Jeffrey Epstein goes much deeper than that. But these are the things that we can put in front of your very eyeballs that we know happened, but no, he don't know nothing about nothing. He doesn't know nothing about nothing. Now, he did say, I find this to be hilarious, actually. He did say in his testimony that to his knowledge, Trump wasn't involved in anything with Epstein. So, he would be the person to tell you, at what point are we going to vindicate Donald Trump on this? At what point are we going to say we have asked literally people who hate Donald Trump to their core, and all of them say, no, Donald Trump has never been implicated in any of this? Like, at what point are you guys going to move on from this? Oh my gosh, there were so many pictures when I went to DC and I was at that shitty Democrat protest event to the State of the Union that Joy Reid was like, and so there were so many homemade signs about Jeffrey Epstein. Pedo protector, you're a pedo protector if you like President Trump at all because he's in the Epstein files. Nobody can actually find anything that he did wrong. Isn't that interesting? Nobody can find a shred of evidence. Bill Clinton could have used his moment. He didn't. Now, let's not forget with the Clintons, it's plural for a reason. There's Hillary Clinton as well. And yesterday, she got her chance to gaslight America, too. Now, she testified before the House Oversight Committee, and she says that she knew even less than her husband.
I never met Jeffrey Epstein, never had any connection or communication with him. I knew Ghislaine Maxwell casually as an acquaintance.
Oh, okay. Didn't know Epstein. Only knew Ghislaine casually. She wasn't even a friend. She wasn't even a friend. I didn't have her phone number. She was just an acquaintance. I barely knew her. Ghislaine who? I don't remember what's her last name again? Weird, because Hillary seemed to invite Ghislaine Maxwell to her daughter's wedding. Do you invite casual acquaintances to your child's wedding? I sure don't. Now, Chelsea's wedding was in July of 2010, and there's Ghislaine Maxwell in all her glory. Was it just a really big wedding? Are we inviting close friends, family, extended friends, and also random acquaintances that what's her name again? That's weird. Now, I will just say, Jeffrey Epstein probably would have been there too. He probably would have gotten the invite, but he was still on house arrest until August of that year for child prostitution. He couldn't make it. They wouldn't give him the ankle monitor for the weekend, so he had to miss that one. Now, I will at least say, the media, there's a first time for everything. They did an accidental journalism, okay? And they asked Hillary a question about why Ghislaine was at Chelsea's wedding. Here's what she said.
I asked, why was Ghislaine Maxwell invited to your daughter Chelsea Clinton's wedding in 2010? She'd already been mentioned in a civil lawsuit by Virginia Giuffre before that. Jeffrey Epstein had already been convicted before that.
She came as the plus one, the guest of someone who was invited.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
Oh. She's like, all right, that's enough. She was just a guest of someone who was invited. Could we know who that person is, please? You wouldn't want to be a pedo protector, would you? I've been reliably informed, and I agree that pedo protectors are really bad. It's kind of all the left has been saying for the last 6 months that pedo protectors are really bad. So, Hillary, please speak into the microphone and tell us exactly who it was that was the guest that Ghislaine Maxwell just happened to be a plus one for. The world would like to know. Now, Hillary, in this entire charade, has been histrionic at some points, but she has been so incredibly disingenuous about wanting transparency. Yeah, right. I'm sure, because in all her time in public service, she was like the queen of transparency, right? And she's like, we have to have this broadcast live. Here's her just a few weeks ago, all right? Let's stop the games. If you want this fight, Representative James Comer, let's have it in public. You love to talk about transparency. There's nothing more transparent than a public hearing, cameras on. We will be there. I am the queen of transparency. Give me my crown. Okay. Well, she was pretty butthurt when a photo of her was posted. They paused the hearing after this picture was taken by Representative Lauren Boebert, and it was leaked online. And the Clinton legal team said the photograph was a violation of House rules. We are so transparent. We want the American people to see, think, hear, and feel every single piece of this entire thing, but don't you dare post a picture. Don't you dare post a picture. Here is Hillary Clinton, very upset about this leaked photo.
Challenge in the beginning because we had agreed upon rules based on the fact it was going to be a closed hearing at their demand. And one of the members violated that rule, which was very upsetting because it suggested that they might violate other of our agreements. So we had to cease the hearing for a period of time until we could get assurances that no rules would be broken going forward. And we returned to answer questions repetitively, literally over and over again.
Yeah, bitch. That's kind of what a deposition is. There's a lot of questions that you're asked and then you have to answer them repeatedly. Like, this isn't are you a lawyer? Aren't you a lawyer? I thought you should know that by now. That's literally what a deposition is. You answer questions repeatedly. It's entirely annoying. It's very that's all part of the process, ma'am. Now, it's also very interesting that they questioned her under oath about Pizzagate.
It then got, at the end, quite unusual because I started being asked about UFOs and a series of questions about Pizzagate, one of the most vile, bogus conspiracy theories that was propagated on the internet, that was serving as the basis of a member's questions to me.
I don't know, ma'am. I don't know. You're saying it's bogus. What I think is bogus and crazy, I would love to know why Jeffrey Epstein talked about pizza so much. It was the only thing he talked about. You want to call this pizza? Oh, it was a conspiracy theory. Oh, it wasn't actually. I don't know why in the world I was asked about pizza so many times. I don't know. I would like to know why in the world your buddy, Jeffrey Epstein, your husband's buddy, Jeffrey Epstein, talked all day long about pizza, and yet there is no photo I have ever been able to find of Jeffrey Epstein eating pizza. I've never seen a photo of him actually eating pizza. All he talked about in the Epstein files. Isn't it interesting? Another thing he talks about in the Epstein files, jerky. He really loves the jerky. Okay, so please don't gaslight us and tell us that this was some crazy kooky, why am I'm being asked about UFOs and Pizzagate and all these other crazy crackpot conspiracy theories. I don't know. What I think is weirder than you being asked that question is the fact that homeboy over there was talking so much about pizza and jerky, and really these conversations that he was having did not make sense in the context in which he was using these terms. That's what I think is weird. That's what I think is bogus. I don't think she wants to talk about that, though. Anywho, make sure to, I know I said it earlier, subscribe to the YouTube channel, smash the like button, help us in the algorithm. You can do that by doing those things. And I want to remind you guys, if you'd like to subscribe to Blaze TV, you can do so by going to blazetv.com/Sarah. Subscribe today and save $20 with promo code Sarah. That is blazetv.com/Sarah. So if you've spent more than like 5 seconds with me, you know that one of the greatest parts of the Trump administration 2.0 for me has been this alliance with RFK Jr. to make America healthy again. Obviously, I've been on the MAHA train for a very long time, which I need to just remind you guys, MAHA Moms Club, go ahead and join, saramerch.com. And I'm extremely excited to speak to, yeah, there it is. There it is. We got shirts, we got hats, we got it all, saramerch.com. I'm really excited to speak to my next guest because he is a pioneer, a trailblazer in the MAHA arena. Calley Means, White House senior advisor, one of the leaders in the MAHA movement. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, it's great to be here, Sarah.
So you and RFK Jr. came in with this singular mission to make America healthy again, which I don't think, it's not a crazy mission. Overhauling the food system is the key tenet of this. And I think, you correct me if I'm wrong, kind of your key focus. So why is food the key to everything?
We're at HHS right now. This is the largest budget of any government department in human history. We have a $2 trillion budget. And you look at that, 90% of that is chronic diseases tied to food. Mm-hmm. We in America have the highest rates of diabetes, obesity, heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's. You just go down the list. The highest rates of any society ever. And this is what's costing lives. It's what's shortening lives. It's what's causing issues for day-to-day Americans, and it's bankrupting our budget. And this is it's a multitude of factors, but these are external factors that are causing this increasing rate of chronic disease, which is devastating the country, particularly our kids. And it ties to those external factors, not a lack of medications. We're the most drugged country in the world. Mm-hmm. Not genetics. These things all happened very recently. So that's what Bobby Kennedy has done. That's what my passion is. That's what Bobby Kennedy has not only, I think, educated the country about, but educated the political system about, that this stuff matters. Yeah. And it's the external factors, and food is a really big one, but it's also environmental factors. It's things like exercise. It's things like we're not outside a lot. I mean, this is basic stuff. It's non-political stuff. But Bobby Kennedy, I think he's the most important person. He'll go down as the most important person in the history of modern public health because he's brought light to these simple things.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I mean, he is one of my own personal heroes. I was able to interview him at the first new media row at the White House, and it was really an honor because he really, truly, if the history books are reflected correctly, he and you, I mean, all of you guys that are there doing this great work, I think will be true heroes for this country. And which kind of leads me to my next question. You're saying this is really basic stuff. I agree with you. It is really basic stuff. And yet you guys have received pushback from the left at seemingly every single term. Last month, you guys unveiled pretty straightforward advice with an updated food pyramid, which I, for one, was so excited to see. For a long time, I've been making fun of the food pyramid of just like, yeah, eat 15 servings of carbs. What could possibly go wrong? So you guys are like, more protein, less carbs, eat real food. And still, there is pushback to what you guys are saying. Why do you think that we can't be bipartisan about something as simple as keeping America healthy?
Trump derangement syndrome, I think, is the most pernicious and incurable condition impacting much of the American populace. It's defining American politics. And the simple reality is Trump derangement syndrome has led Democrats to passionately defend artificial food dyes. It's led Democrats to now be the party of ultra-processed food. It's led Democrats to, I couldn't believe this, passionately argue that we should maintain government funding for soda on food stamps. I mean, it is unbelievable. My hope and our prayer here at HHS is this does become bipartisan. We have Democrats come across and work with us. But the simple reality is that Democrats have not lifted a finger to help improve our food system. And this food pyramid, you're right, it's dead simple. The principles of the food pyramid are eat real food, and that's the first time the government's ever said that message. Previous guidance has said that ultra-processed food is the same health value as whole food. It says to avoid refined carbohydrates, which every doctor in the country would agree are very tied to the metabolic conditions and the chronic diseases that we're facing, have exploded in the American diet. Turns into sugar in our bloodstream, says avoid refined carbohydrates, says we should maybe limit our sugar intake when we are dramatically increasing that in the past couple decades, and 38% of teens have prediabetes. These simple things. And that flows into government procurement guidelines. So our schools and our military are going to have better whole food. It's a 95% issue. It's impossible to disagree with. But yeah, we're getting fought at every turn, and we're going to keep pushing. And I think the Democrats will have to come on board one day, because it makes no sense.
I completely agree. By the way, you mentioned Trump derangement syndrome, and I agree with you. Have you guys at HHS considered studying that? You could figure it out. Like, what is broken in their brains to make them fight this? You guys can figure that out.
Well, Dr. Oz has said he might be looking at a medical code for that. I think it might be. I think it might be incurable at stage 4.
I think you're right. It's terminal at that point.
Yeah.
So a lot of brands, what I have loved, Calley, is a lot of brands, obviously when you guys come out with the new guidelines on dye-free products and stuff like that, it's on one hand enraging because these companies have already been producing these products in other countries, dye-free, chemical-free, the other countries that have already passed rules and regulations for this get the clean stuff. And then we're left with all of the artificial crap that hurts us. And so now that you guys have enacted some of these new guidelines with regard to food dyes and stuff like that, I see all of these companies, before they legally have to, they're already giving us the good stuff. I saw a clip of someone doing a blind taste test of these new naked chips, like they were the Flamin' Hot Cheetos without the color. And the people were like, oh, the natural stuff actually tastes better.
Oh, it does taste better. I mean, our food is, whole food, real food from great soil is what tastes great. But we've been weaponized. The food's been weaponized, and we've been addicted to this ultra processed crap. Because as I talked about, this is, in the 90s created by the cigarette industry, which consolidated the food industry and made our food addictive. No, you bring up a great point. What I've been passionate about, having a passion for these issues, but growing up in DC. What Bobby Kennedy's been able to do is show that healthy children is also good politics. Yeah. And we've been able to have this power at HHS for the first time to just say the simple things. And you hit on it. One of the most resonant points of the MAHA movement is the comparisons between the U.S. and other countries. I mean, this is far beyond a free market issue or a individual choice issue. It just doesn't seem fair, I think, to Americans that U.S. companies are actually making food in the United States with demonstrably healthier ingredients, not having the neurotoxic petroleum-based food dyes. They're making them in this country and then shipping them, across the border to Canada or into Europe and then giving us inferior products. That makes no sense. So that's one thing we're zeroing in on. Where are the differences with other countries? And yes, because we have the power on food dyes, for instance, the FDA has the authority to eliminate toxic substances from the U.S. food supply. We called in the food CEOs. Bobby, you've met him. He just has such a force and moral authority. He talked about what he's trying to channel from voters. He said, we're going to fix this the hard way or the easy way. And the food industry on that case decided the easy way. And they voluntarily announced the removal. So just today, actually, it's leading headlines. Target actually took it upon themselves to say that what they're going to procure, they're actually not going to buy food and provide it that has artificial food dyes. So we're working with Walmart and Target and big retailers. They see it. They're trying to be part of the solution. So, if Walmart or Target says this is the parameters of what we're going to procure, that dramatically changes the market. So we're having hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of conversations. And Bobby's saying every day with Secretary Kennedy, just reflect what voters are saying, why we're here, and try to bleed that into every system you can. Yeah, and a lot of the successes have been voluntary commitments, which we think is great.
Yeah, a big reason, I totally agree with you, by the way, a big reason I feel like all of these ultra processed foods have all these additives is, again, you correct me if I'm wrong, you're the expert, I'm not, but they have this regulatory system within the FDA called Generally Recognized as Safe, GRAS for short, and it's a 67-year-old system. And so when you start thinking about 67 years ago, most doctors were still like, yeah, you're pregnant. You can smoke a Camel Light. It's fine. Right. I just wonder, is there any way that we can get rid of this GRAS system entirely?
Yes. Well, that's something Secretary Kennedy's talked a lot about. It's a stated goal for this year. There was recently a 60 Minutes episode about his reform efforts on GRAS with with a leading Democrat, a former Democratic FDA commissioner, saying this is the most important issue in the country, and Bobby has his full support. So yeah, it's actually unbelievable. The generally recognized as safe regulation was from the 1960s, and it was for literally, it says this in the regulation, for things like flour or baking soda, things that are widely generally recognized as safe. And it was saying that for those type of things like flour, you don't have to do full safety reviews. What's happened is the food industry now literally designates everything as GRAS, as generally recognized as safe. So when you look at a ultra processed food and you see all those ingredients you can't pronounce, those ingredients were not studied by the FDA. The FDA doesn't even have a list of all the ingredients in our food supply, and the FDA cannot independently vouch for the safety of this preponderance of chemicals in our food supply. And you look at Europe, they have about 400 approved ingredients for food. We don't even know the number because we don't have the list, but it might be 10,000. So yeah, this is a very simple principle, which is that we should have some kind of safety understanding of new novel chemicals, and then a process to review post-market what's in our food supply. And that's very aligned with the administration's gold standard science and transparency for consumers. So we've got to have it.
What has been the most rewarding part of this experience for you?
Yeah, I mean, a lot came together with the food pyramid. And as I said, what's so powerful about that is there's a cultural force, I think, with that. People say, oh, people don't listen to government guidance. I'll tell you, I was raised looking at the old food pyramid, and my parents thought they were doing the right thing by giving us the carbs, which the government was telling them to do. So the fact that the U.S. government has definitely said ultra-processed food should be avoided and whole food is the way to go, I think that's going to have a big cultural impact. But what was really, I think, gratifying for the team here is that pyramid will flow into hundreds of billions of dollars of procurement and really impact markets by helping farmers instead of junk food companies. It's going to impact 45 million school lunches that are served in the U.S. per day, with more good proteins and fruits and vegetables instead of junk food on the plate. So it did really feel, I think, for the team that we used this MAHA energy that President Trump has empowered us to do, defeated special interests that are profiting from addictive, crappy food for kids. And that's going to do a lot of good, both culturally and from a government procurement. I think the last thing I just say is there's I think just historic policy wins we've achieved in the past year, but we are proud that whether an American is a fan of President Trump and Bobby Kennedy or not, there's been a cultural, I think, spiritual revolution in the country. I even meet with liberal friends who, are not fans of Bobby Kennedy or President Trump. They're thinking much harder about reading food labels, and what they're putting in their child's body. And I personally believe President Trump and Bobby Kennedy deserve a lot of credit for just overarching conversation we're having in the country.
I completely agree. Bobby said, I'm saying Bobby like I know him. I'm like, oh yeah, me and Bobby go way back. We met that one time. But I remember hearing him say, in one of his speeches that just really stuck with me. I'm sure many other moms can relate, when he said, I bent down every morning and I prayed that God would put me in a position where I could actually make changes happen and save these kids. And I want to tear up just talking about it right now, because it resonated so much with me as a mom of two young kids, because I was thinking to myself, I bend down and pray every day for you to be in that position too, for someone to be able to help us. And now you guys are there. And it really is a dream come true. I know I speak for so many moms in the audience. It really is a dream come true to have you guys really affecting change, because I got to tell you, even us MAHA moms, if you send your kids to school, any sort of school, if you send your kids, my kid goes to homeschooling co-op and he is still given all the candies with the food dyes, it's like, even as parents, you still can't control what your child goes out and consumes. So for you guys to be able to give us even more protections on this is just really, really instrumental. And I just want to thank you for all of the great work that you guys have been doing. I realize it's only been a year. There's so much more great work that you guys intend to do. But I just, for the moms out there, I just want to really just say thank you so much. I really never thought that you guys would be in a position that you were in. I really didn't. I never thought that we would be able to do this. And I just really appreciate you.
Thank you, Sarah. There's going to be inevitable peaks and valleys on this journey, but what President Trump and Bobby Kennedy have opened is historic, and there's so much more to do. And I appreciate so much and so meaningful what you said about moms. And, we're driving policy wins, but we're trying to open a door for every mom in this country to work with their local community, with their schools, to not feel like the weird hippie mom anymore. I think there's a lot of hippie moms and they're correct. And we should not be poisoning our kids. And we need to be really conscious about the environment and what's going into our kids' bodies. And that's just a unimpeachable, nonpartisan philosophy. So, I hope every mom watching feels more empowered and, to make change in the most important part around their home, but also around their communities. And I know that's happening around the country. And that is the most gratifying thing that we're seeing.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate all of the work that you do. Although I am just going to say, I'm waiting for the TDS study. Okay. HHS. I'm putting it upon you.
I'll talk to Dr. Oz.
Yeah.
I'll talk to Dr.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank
Calley Means. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right. Bucket list right there. Checked off. We'll be right back. We've been talking this week about my trip to DC. Obviously, you guys saw, crammed a lot into 2 days, but I wanted to also share a conversation that I had with my friend and my Congressman, Brandon Gill. I am so happy to be joined in person, usually it's remote, by my Congressman, Brandon Gill. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing.
It's good to be here. Good to have you in Washington, too. I know we're usually in Texas when we see each other.
I don't love this weather, though.
I prefer Texas in about every single possible way to Washington.
We appreciate you making the sacrifice to come here so that someone else doesn't have to. I was just speaking with Congressman Chip Roy about the Sharia Free America Caucus that you guys are involved in, and it is just such tremendous, important work that is so necessary that Texas needs to lead on this particular issue because Texas is kind of under siege right now.
It is, and at this point, I believe we have 42 members of Congress in the Sharia Free America Caucus, so it's growing rapidly. We're adding new members every single day. I was at an event just a few days ago in Texas. It was a grassroots event, and I was taking Q&A, and I would say probably 80% of the questions that I got were on Sharia and on issues with what people believe to be an Islamic invasion into the country. I mean, this is a big issue. It's not going away anytime soon, and it's our job as elected representatives to address it and address it in a candid and straightforward way, which is to say that there are cultural incompatibilities here that we need to be aware of. I think our immigration system needs to reflect these. And I think we need to be determining who comes into our country, and we need to protect our culture.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, to the extent, too, we talk about illegal immigration all the time. We're talking about the legal immigration, perhaps, of a culture that is unassimilable. But with regard to that, there's also these, I've been doing these investigations into H-1B fraud. Yeah. And so there's a couple different layers of that, because on one aspect, it's just, should we be allowing at such a large rate for foreign workers to come in and take American jobs? But on the other hand, there's just a lot of fraud and corruption going on. I mean, my team has been uncovering so much. I'm like the meme of the guy with all of the lines on the board, like crazy, because I've just seen it and I can't unsee it.
Pepe Sylvia. I look in the mail, well, this whole box is Pepe Sylvia. So I say to myself, I gotta find this guy.
And I think that a lot of Americans are worried about the jobs that are being taken, the housing that's being taken. It's making everything less affordable for, our kids who are growing up. Where are they going to live? What is their community going to look like when they grow up? What do their schools look like? I mean, a lot of people are concerned, like, hey, my child is a white Christian male or female, and they're the minority in their schools.
Oh, yeah. I mean, immigration is the one issue that really touches everything else. It touches the quality of schools, the quality of health care, the cost of living, the cost of housing. I mean, everything. I mean, it is what composes who we are as a country. And I get questions a lot about H-1B as well. And my view has always been that the H-1B program either needs to be radically reformed or abolished outright. You know, it was something that was originally created to say if there are niche jobs that we don't have, that we can't fill in the United States, we'll bring in a very select number of people to fill those. But it was intended to be niche, small scale, and that is not what it has become. It is metastasized. It has become rampant with fraud. And the point of immigration, whether it's H-1B or anything else, should never be to bring cheap labor into the United States. You know, again, you go back to first principles. The purpose of our immigration system is to service and make life better for American citizens. That's it. There's no other reason that it exists. So saying that we want to bring in millions of people every year, illegally, legally, it doesn't matter. To fill jobs that American citizens can fill for the sole purpose of reducing working class wages, I think is grotesque. And again, that's what this program has become. So I think, again, that's something that needs to be addressed. It needs to be either reformed or abolished outright. And to your point about culture, there are cultural issues here where you have neighborhoods and communities who are being completely transformed. That's not what the American people asked for. Maybe what certain businesses have been asking for, but it's not what the people asked for.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So on the topic of legal immigration, you of course were under fire by the left because you wanted to put a moratorium on bringing in any more Somalians. You said, all right, it's something going horribly wrong. We need to stop it right now. What is it, 25 years?
25 years.
So I just want to know, like, does Ilhan Omar give you the stink eye whenever she sees you?
Usually it's much worse than that. I was giving a speech on the House floor about this bill in particular, and she was in the audience and she was screaming.
No.
I could barely hear what she was saying, but she was calling me names and all kinds of stuff.
You're kidding.
So she's not a big fan of me, I will say, to say the least. But you know, it's a 25-year moratorium is what I proposed, which I think is truly a moderate response to a severe problem. This is not banning it completely, which I think would be justified, candidly. But a 25-year moratorium to simply say, we brought in a lot of people from all over the world. Why don't we allow them to assimilate, to come in so our culture and our society can cohere a little bit? And that hasn't happened for far too long. And with the Somali population in particular, and I think Minnesota is the best case study, whenever you have 78% of them who are on welfare, even after being in the United States for 10 years, that is so deeply insulting to Americans who are paying for this stuff, who are saying, we let you come into our country to enjoy the freedoms that we get to have. And yet you're making us pay for your housing and your health care and your education and everything else. I mean, that is so deeply offensive, rightfully so. That I think we've got to, again, recognize what our own people are saying. And they're saying, I don't want mass Somali immigration. That doesn't make our country stronger. You know, this is a culture that is, in many ways, incompatible with our own. You know, Somalia has a clan-based social structure that's totally different than what we have in the United States. And that's one of the things that is, catalyzed so much fraud in Minnesota in particular. So again, this goes back to let's protect our own people first. And let's make sure that America continues to be the envy of the world that everybody wants to come to. But it will not be if you allow unlimited immigration from cultures and societies that are third world and that are incompatible with our own.
You can take the pirate out of Somalia, but you can't take the Somalia out of the pirate. That's what I like to say. You know, on that, I went to Ilhan Omar's office yesterday. No, it was incredible because I went to many Democrats' offices and no one was there. And I'm like, oh, look, another Democrat who doesn't want to work on taxpayer time. That's great. But I did deliver her a one-way ticket back to Somalia on Mogadishu Airlines and some bananas and rice. So I hope that she takes me up on that.
All right, out here in front of Ilhan Omar's office and decided to just bring her a one-way ticket back to Somalia on Mogadishu Airlines. Go home, don't come back. And you know, it's a long trip, I hear. So I'm told Somalians are all about bananas and rice, bananas and rice, bananas and rice.
To me, being Somali isn't just eating bananas with rice. It's kind of like the bananas and rice. That's what it's like to be Somali and American. It's like that combination of banana and rice.
Brought her a snack to keep her from being too hungry on the way. And since it's such a long journey and you're going back to Somalia and hopefully never returning, we decided to bring you a picture of you and your loved ones, specifically your brother, husband. I think that's who that is, right, Ilan? Anyway, let's go give her her gifts. Would you look at that? Another Democrat congressperson using your tax dollars, and not even at work. But this one, let's see if I can slide it under the door maybe. I don't want her to miss that flight. I know you love him, so.
I hope that she takes me up on that. Representative, tell me, let's say like the midterms, this is just hypothetical because I actually am very worried about the midterms. Let's say the midterms do go well and Republicans do maintain power. What are the top 3 things you think that this party needs to focus on and really get done once we are given the ability to have, continue to have control?
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing is border security. It was the biggest issue of the past election cycle. And the president's done phenomenal. I mean, we've gone 9 months now without ICE or DHS releasing a single illegal alien into the interior. Border apprehensions are down to their lowest level since, I believe, 1970. I mean, it's phenomenal what the president has done. Now, the issue with all of this is that it's not permanent yet. Yeah. And we've done some work funding in the tax bill last year to build the border wall and river barriers and things like that, which hopefully have some duration to them policy-wise. But what we really need to do is codify real border security policies into law. H.R. 2. Something that's going to outlast the president. And I think if we don't do that, that's going to be a big, in many ways, a big stain on Congress's reputation. Again, the president's done his job. It's time for us in Congress to do ours. I think the second thing, which I hope happens, it's going to have to happen before the midterm cycles. We've got to get the SAVE Act passed. I mean, this is a piece of legislation that the vast majority of Americans agree with, including a majority of Democrats, by the way.
Right.
I mean, we can't agree with Democrats on anything, and yet they agree, their voters at least agree, that voter ID makes total sense and is a common sense solution to what is obviously a problem. Whenever you bring in 20 million illegal aliens over the course of 4 years, there's a very reasonable suspicion that a lot of them are going to be voting in elections where you don't have to show ID, where all you have to do is check a box to self-determine that you're a citizen. So you have open borders mixed with unsecure elections, and I think that's why the left is so gung-ho about opposing the SAVE Act, is they know that this is sort of their political ticket to power. But we've got to recognize that and get that passed this year. And again, the goal is, we passed it out of the House, the goal is to get it signed on the president's desk. So there's a lot of things the Senate could be doing there. I think the third thing I would say is we've got to focus on cost of living issues. This, again, is something that the president has done a great job of. Inflation peaked at 9% under Joe Biden. We're at 2.6% now. I mean, that is incredible work that the president has done. But we've got work that we need to do in Congress to codify some of his economic policies. We've got a ton of waste that we can still cut out, which does drive inflation ultimately. Excessive spending drives inflation. You got to fill that gap by printing money. We all know that. It's basic economics. So I think continuing to cut out more waste to make the economic life for Americans a lot better is the third thing we ought to do.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, you are doing tremendous work. You're a rock star in Congress, taking all sorts of daggers so that other people don't have to. I would be remiss. I realize, everyone loves you in our district, but there is an election. Everyone make sure to go vote. If you are in Texas, in our district, vote for Brandon Gill. He is, you got to be the best freshman there. It's not even close.
I'll let you make that call.
I just made the call. I'm making the determination. You get the award for best freshman.
We've got a phenomenal class, I'll say that. We've got a very good freshman class here.
Okay, but you're the best. I'll say it. He doesn't have to. My Congressman Brandon Gill, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Sarah.
I spoke with Calley Means earlier about studying why TDS exists, How can we prevent this from happening? I would like HHS to also study the phenomenon that is liberal white women and why they are so mentally unstable. I don't get it. I want to get it. It is destroying the country. But I'd like to present you a new one. All right. This is a woman who says she's a scholar who studies the far right. You already know she's terrible and insufferable just from that basic point. But she decided to flee America. That's probably partially because of the TDS. And also, she says she was running away from fascists who say mean things about her because they didn't like one of her TikToks online. And she's in Canada. This is how she describes her plight.
This is day one as a refugee in Canada. We made it across the border yesterday afternoon. And we're in an Airbnb now. I don't have a home. Some people can choose to leave and some people are forced to leave. And I am one of the ones that have been forced to leave.
No, ma'am.
I think a lot about like Jews in Nazi Germany, and for a long time I was like, why didn't they get out? You know, like the signs were so clear and things were so bad for so long. Why didn't they get out?
Ma'am, first of all, you look exactly how I would expect. Like, I couldn't paint it better with the vision in my head. Yeah, I mean, look, like, of course you look like that. Ma'am, I don't understand how any Jewish person can support the Democrat Party. I really don't. Like, I don't understand how any Jewish person can support the party that continues to minimize what actually happened in Nazi Germany to Jewish people. I don't understand how that is the most horribly offensive thing I have ever heard in my entire life. The way that they call us all Nazis, obviously. But to say that, I mean, they're constantly bastardizing the term Nazi Germany. It's just like the Jewish people. I mean, I barely escaped an oven, you know? Like, what? But it gets worse because, you know, all these liberals love to paint Canada as this utopia, and they're all like, if Donald Trump wins again, I'm going to flee. And then usually they don't. She did, but she found out that the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
But the situation in Canada is absolutely dire. For Americans who don't know, the housing crisis here is worse than in the United States. I lived in LA for 6 years, and I have not faced rent as bad as here.
Oh, no.
And in Canada, I think it's actually the cost of living crisis is worse here, especially when you are shut out of the healthcare system, when you can't access any of the resources that Canadians have access to.
Oh, no.
And that's understandable. You know, I'm not a citizen of the country, but it is making the financial situation dire because we can't work. Because there are 2 adults, a cat and a dog, we are looking for more than a room, but a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom for free or below market rates. And I know that's a huge ask,
for free
but that's
or below
what we need.
Market rates. Yeah. Turns out America's not that bad of a place after all, huh? She's like, well, the healthcare system sucks here. I can't get in. By the way, I can't get in because I'm not a citizen. Boy, maybe we should try that. She's like, I totally understand. I'm not a citizen. I can't get that. But you're advocating for it in this country. Make any of this make sense. You can't. She couldn't think this through. She didn't do 1 ounce of research. She didn't go on Google and she was like, cost of living in Canada versus where I live now. No, she couldn't because her brain is broken. Her brain is broken. And that's what I would just ask HHS. You could do the coolest thing and save the country if you just figured out how to reverse TDS. It's causing major problems. Then again, we're probably lucky that she's gone. So maybe not. Maybe just leave her there. She seems too stupid to be here and function.